So, do you understand what this is saying? He says, we don't want you thinking that this day of Christ is at hand. Now, the day of Christ that he's talking about is the day of wrath. And we'll show that in a minute, because that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that things are bad, the wrath is coming. And he says, I don't want you to think that in spirit, nor in word, nor if somebody sent you a letter saying it was from us, saying that the wrath was at hand, don't believe it. He says, don't believe that the day of Christ is at hand. And he goes on to say, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Okay, I want to come back for just a second, because he's mentioned two things in verse 2. One, he started out, one was in verse 1. He says, our gathering together unto him. That's an event, our gathering together unto the Lord. And then he says, don't you worry and think that the day of Christ is at hand. That's another event, the day of Christ that is at hand. One is for our redemption. That's our gathering away. That's when he's going to take us out of here through his grace and mercy. The other is for their damnation through God's righteous wrath. So what's happening is they're being deceived. They're being told that they missed the boat because the great tribulation or wrath has already begun, and they're still here. And that there is in the religious community some argument over, do we go through the wrath or do we get rescued out first? When do we get rescued? So this is the subject that this deals with. So again, in verses 3 and 4, he's saying, don't let anybody deceive you. He says, because that day, and he's talking about that day of Christ, isn't going to come until there's a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So he says, before it's going to come, we're going to know who the Antichrist is. And I'll get to that in just a minute, but that's what he's saying. You don't have to worry about it, because before that happens, there's going to be a falling away, and you're going to know who the Antichrist is. He says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now those of us who have read more know that he's actually going to go into the Jewish temple after he makes peace with Israel, and he's going to proclaim himself as God. So this is the day, the beginning of the day of Christ is when the wrath begins, because that's going to be the wrath taken over. So he's saying that can't happen until that man is revealed. Well, then some people today say, well, way back when they said that man was Hitler. And depending on your political persuasion, some people think it was George Bush, and others think it's President Obama, but it's none of that. It's going to be a lot more obvious than us guessing and some bad things happening. Hitler was pretty bad, but it's saying, don't worry about it, because you're going to know. Now I want to tell you something right here about this word falling away in verse 3. He says there comes a falling away first. There is a disagreement in the Christian community between whether that means that things get real bad first, or that means that we are taken out of here. Some people think that means that we're taken out of here. But I'm going to tell you that since it's not certain, in the Greek language, things can be a couple of ways. It's not certain. We're going to say that doesn't matter. We're going to say that even if it means that things just get real bad first, and that the man of sin is going to be revealed, he is making the point that wrath isn't going to come until those situations happen. And he is assuring them that we're going to be taken out of here first. So there's an order to things, right? He's telling them before that day of Christ comes, we're going to be taken out of here. So let's read on. See if we can get that all straightened out. Paul's definitely telling them that it's not true, So let's read 5 to 7. He says, remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things?
You skipped 1 John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good. Let's go to 1 John. We'll come back to Thessalonians. Let's go to 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. And I'm coming here just to give you one place where the Antichrist is mentioned. And who does the Antichrist concern primarily?
Israel.
Israel, right? Because he's going to come and it's going to be them that are concerned. We're out of here. So it's something we like to know, but it's nothing that's going to affect us. So in 1 John, John is talking basically to Israel about what's going to happen. 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. And he says, little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard, the Antichrist shall come. Even now there are many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. Let's see, was that how much I wanted to read? Yeah. So, and that's the same situation we have now, is there's much evil. There's much iniquity in the world. We see a lot of bad people in the sense that they're doing bad things. They're up there running countries where they slaughter people, trying to maybe take over the world. They're doing all kinds of things. We see that, and we can get scared and say, well, gosh, that could be happening any time. And Peter thought it, John thought it might happen back then. Peter thought it might happen back then. Paul thought that our rapture might happen back then, like he might even be caught up in it. And we're told, of course, that we don't know when it's going to happen. We do know this. We're going to be caught up before the wrath starts, before this man of sin is revealed. Okay, let's go back to Thessalonians. But we could ask that question ourselves. Have we missed the boat? Have we been left behind? You know, what happened, Lord? You haven't come for us yet, and things are getting bad. So he's saying that day will not come until, and he's explaining to us. So which day will not come until? It's the day of wrath. You know, it's not going to come until. They're confused and scared. So 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 5 to 7. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. See, that's as far as I want to go? Yeah. So he's saying, don't you remember? I told you these things. And he says that the mystery of iniquity has already begun. The mystery of iniquity is the fact that Satan is little by little taking over this world like he wants to. And he's doing it through people and through the iniquity that is in us. He has the evil that's in us to work with and to tempt us to do things, and we see more and more iniquity. And in our time, we can be tempted to think, well, gosh, we can't watch TV without seeing just awful things, you know, and there's just more and more iniquity going on. We can see it. So he's saying, yes, the iniquity already works, but it hasn't happened yet. Let's go back to these verses because they're a little bit tough. He says, now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. What he's saying is something is holding Satan or his Antichrist back that's keeping him from being revealed until it's his time. That's what he's saying. And then he says, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth. And this is where we need to know something about the Old English language, that the word let is hinder in the Old English language, because otherwise it sounds like it's saying the opposite of what it's saying. That's where we get that word in tennis, where when it hits the net, instead of clearly passing over it, they call a let. That they're saying it was hindered. It was hindered from going over. So this word means, so when he says, he who now letteth, he's really saying, he who now holdeth back. And it'll work in the sentence when you read it. It says, and he will continue